So hi everyone, so today I'm going to be doing a comparison between the Olympus 45mm f1.8 versus a lens you probably already have in your bag, the 14-42 2R kit lens. Now the kit lens I have is the 14-42 2R version, and it's the newer version of the two 14-42 zoom lenses. And there's also the latest one is the 14-42 Easy, which is the power zoom pancake lens. Now the lens I have and the Easy lens, they're very similar in terms of image quality and performance, so I think you can still make a fair comparison, or this is still a fair comparison between the kit lenses and the 45mm. And again, this series is really about helping you decide if you should get a prime lens, because the kit lens really, it already covers, a pretty wide range, overlapping a lot of the primes, right? The 12mm, the 17, the 25, the 20, the 45, the 30. There's so many prime lenses to choose from. All I can do is help you decide if it's really worth spending the money for a prime lens that you already have covered with your kit lens. So we'll be comparing sort of the qualities people look for in a prime lens, right? They want that blurry background, they want the low light capability, better autofocusing, better sharpness, right? Because everyone says the kit lens is not very sharp, but honestly, I find it really good when you get it with your camera. And this is the lens that comes with like the EM10 Mark II, which is what I'll be shooting with today. A lot of the Pen PL8s and other Olympus cameras come with this lens. All right, so right now I have the 14-42 kit lens mounted onto my EM10 Mark II, and we'll just do a quick continuous autofocus test with face detect in video and compare this to the 45mm. Now this is a test I did in my last video with the 25mm lens, and I thought it did perform pretty well, but it was at 25mm f4.5, I think. And when we're wide open at f5.6, 42mm, it may perform very differently. The image quality may be worse even, who knows? We'll see. Because really that's one of the things, right? Is my image going to be better or worse than the prime lens at this focal range? And I think that's one of the things you have to think about when you're deciding about this lens. So how's it keeping up? Let's do a product test. So today I'll be featuring the Olympus Pen F for our product shot. How's it doing? If I get completely out of frame, does it focus on the Pen F? Okay, so I'm going to move it over. Does it focus back on me? Yeah, it seems to do a good job. I can't see the monitor when this is in front of me, but it looks like it's focusing on this and then back on me. So again, another, I think, really good performance on the kit lens with the EM10 Mark II for continuous autofocus. So I'm going to switch over to the 45mm lens and we'll see how it does. All right, so right now I have the 45mm lens on at f5.6. So the depth of field and the amount of light reaching the sensor should be identical to the 14-42mm. The only difference will be this will be even a little bit tighter because it's at 45mm instead of 42mm. So how's it doing? Is it keeping up when I walk back and forth? And like I said, I'm not going to walk too fast because these are contrast detect systems. And I'd say from the camera to this tree is about 3, maybe 4 meters, 10 or 12 feet. All right, let me go out of frame, come back in, and let's do a product shot, right? I'm going to back up a little. All right, let's try this. How's it doing? Is it picking up? How about now? Does it come back to me? Let me get a little closer now. How's it doing? Is it focused on the Pen F now? Is it focused back on me? It seems to be doing a good job. Let me just walk backwards and see. And this Jeep here with the shiny grille and everything should be a big distraction for it in terms of contrast detect, right? But all right, so let's Let's put the lens in, dial in f1.8, because that's, you know, really a lot of the reason you buy a lens like this, right? So let's see how the video autofocus is at f1.8. Okay, now we're at f1.8, and it took a couple seconds for it to get focus on me, but I think we're okay. Let's see how it works when I'm just walking towards it. Not bad. It looks like it's pretty tack sharp there. Look at the blurry background now. Look at this Jeep. I don't even know where to stand. It's all backwards. But okay, how about over here? Is it keeping up? I can't really see if I'm in focus, but I can see the Jeep is out of focus, so it seems to be fine. Let's do a quick, let me go completely out of frame, and let's do a product shot. Ooh, is it gonna get me? Yeah, all right, not bad. All right, so if I cover my face with the product, this is my lovely Pen F. Does it come back on me? Sorry, I'm looking at the monitor, so if I'm not looking straight at you, I apologize. Okay, I think that did a good job. But what do you think of the cinematic quality between the two? Getting that blurrier background with the f1.8. You know, maybe that's worth it for you to get this lens. And this lens is not that expensive. Right now it's on sale for like 250 bucks US. So, you know, I think it's worth the money just for this blurry background alone. Okay, so let's just take a look at these pictures straight out of camera, raw files. There's been no settings applied in Lightroom. I zeroed everything out. And I have the kit lens on the left, I have the 45mm prime on the right. They're both at f5.6. And right away I can see a difference in color. The kit lens is definitely a little bit warmer than the prime lens. So I think that is also contributing to the difference in color temperature I've been seeing throughout all of these tests I've been doing. Definitely the kit lens is contributing to that. Now let's take a look at some sharpness. We'll go up here to my hairline and let me zoom in 2:1. Whoops, that's too much. Okay, 2:1. Clearly the prime lens is sharper by a significant amount, and again the kit lens is clearly warmer. Let's look at my collar. How about my skin over here? Yeah, definitely sharper straight out of camera without doing any processing, but the kit lens still doing a pretty good job overall as usual. It's good because when you back off, you know, there's really not much difference between these two pictures other than the focal length going from 42mm to 45. So it's a little bit tighter on the 45, but not by much. And then looking at the bokeh in the background, yeah, definitely the prime lens again is smoother. This kit lens, as we've seen before, has this soap bubble background, and you know, that's again a matter of preference. And then let's look at some chromatic aberration, or you know, the kit lens again exhibiting some green fringing and a tiny bit of purple fringing. And then over here it's more of a bluish green fringing, but it's not as pronounced. And honestly, I think that's really all I can say about these two lenses, this focal length. And again, you don't buy prime lenses to shoot them at f5.6, right? So let's look at it at f1.8. And yeah, that's a pretty significant difference in the blurriness in the background. That's really blown out quite a bit. But let's check the sharpness, because now the prime lens is at wide open at f1.8, and it's lost a little bit of its sharpness, no question, but it's still sharper than the kit lens wide open. And that's actually a little better showing than I think the 25mm review that I did, because when I opened up the 25mm to f1.8, it was pretty close to the kit lens, but I can still see a significant difference. Let's look at my cheek and skin. Yeah, it's still sharper. So all things being equal, yeah, this 45mm prime is still sharper wide open than the kit lens wide open. And then the bokeh, again, this is not a fair test, but look how smooth this is blown out at this point. And then let's check the chromatic aberration down here. And you can see the green fringing is definitely more pronounced, and it's shifted a little bit more green than blue-green that we saw before. And one question I got was, why are the grills narrower here than over here? And that's strictly due to the depth of field. There's no other factor involved that I can think of that would cause that. So there you have it. Now again, in my opinion, you can get the kit lens to look pretty close to the prime lens with some post-processing. But straight out of camera, you know, this is why you buy a 45mm f1.8 prime. Another thing I want to note is, look at the shutter speed here on the kit lens wide open at f5.6 versus the prime lens wide open at f1.8. So if you're in a low light situation and you wanted to keep your shutter speed at 1/800th of a second, the only thing you can do over here is raise the ISO, because the aperture is wide open at f5.6. So to increase the shutter speed, you have to increase the ISO. And so what would that be? 160, 320, 640, plus another third. That'll get us to 1/800th of a second. So we need 3 1/3 stops of ISO more. So that would be roughly what, 400, 800, 1600 plus a third is about 500 plus. So the camera would probably pick around ISO 2000 or 2200 to get the shutter speed up to 1/800th of a second on the kit lens. So in a low light situation, you could be at ISO 200 on the prime lens, but if you're on the kit lens to get the same shutter speed, you have to be at ISO 2000 or 2200. So keep that in mind. So, you know, for low light photography, that's a substantial difference, 3 1/3 stops of light. And that alone could be the deal breaker, because again, you may not care about this blurry background at all. You just want to be able to get, you know, sharper images in low light with less grain and noise. Okay, so one other quality that people like to look at sometimes is the closest focusing distance you can get with this lens. So here's the kit lens zoomed all the way out. It says 41, but I had it zoomed all the way out. Sometimes it says 41, sometimes 42. But in any case, this is the closest I could get to my 25mm lens and take a picture. And you can see it filled the frame pretty well. Let's go ahead and look at the actual distance. And from the body all the way out to the subject here, it's almost 11 inches, which is, you know, 0.3 meters, but it's roughly in line with what Olympus claims the close focusing distance is for this camera, or for this lens. Now let's take a look at the 45mm. Now the 45mm does not get anywhere near as close, and this is as close as I could get to the lens and take a picture. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of difference. And if we look at it from the top, you can see this was roughly 20 inches away from the body, or I can't quite read that. I'm sorry, it's blurry. But it's nearly double the distance in terms of close focusing. So if this is important to you, you may not want to consider the 45mm over the kit lens. All right, everyone, so I'm going to wrap it up here, and right now I'm recording with the 45mm f1.8, and hopefully you found this helpful, because I think it's important to do a comparison with what you already have in your bag. You know, you need a baseline comparison before you start looking at other reviews or videos about this lens, because a lot of those reviews are in a bubble, right? They look at the 45mm f1.8 all by itself, and then they tell you this is the best lens ever, you need to get this lens. Or they compare it against other lenses in its class or out of its class, the 45mm f1.2, or they compare it against the 42.5 f1.7 from Panasonic. I think before you even look at those videos, you need to have a baseline to compare it with. So if you like what you saw here between your kit lens and this 45mm, then you have a baseline to say, okay, what does this 45mm f1.8 look compared to the 45mm f1.2, or the Panasonic 42.5 f1.7, or the myriad of other lenses, you know, maybe the 12 to 40 Pro lens, right? Which I got a suggestion to start doing comparisons between the 12 to 40 Pro and various prime lens. So I'm going to start doing that. I appreciate that recommendation, and I do believe that would be helpful as well for a lot of people, because if you haven't bought the 12 to 40 Pro yet, you might be looking at the 25 and the 40. You can buy those two lenses and maybe something else for less than that Pro lens costs by itself. So thanks for that suggestion. And if you have any other suggestions, just leave them down in the comments below. And again, I always appreciate that great feedback you guys are giving me. You're really kind, you know. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.